2024 or other prior fiscal years as needed, or take any action in relation thereto. Do we have any previous?
We do.
Okay.
We have 5 prior year bills totaling $1,488.48. They're mostly from our fire and sprinkler alarm inspectors. We just didn't receive the bills that they sent, so they were from last fiscal year. And then there's a porta potty invoice for Lardo that was received after the books closed.
Okay. This is to be appropriated for free cash, so.
Yeah.
I would take a motion, or entertain a motion to approve, to support this article. Motion made, second. All those in favor? All right.
The porta potty, is that just a one-time, it's a one-time, is there one there that Parks pays for and stuff?
Yeah.
Somehow we just get 1 month.
We received one bill after the books were closed, so we had to,
And the fire sprinklers are just regular maintenance, or?
most of them were, if you want me to pull up the invoices, I can, but yeah, most of them were routine. I think one of them, I forget which one, but one of them needed some repair and maintenance work.
Standard maintenance.
Yeah.
All right, Article 3, which is to transfer to Water Enterprise Fund, to see if the town will vote to appropriate or transfer from available funds to the Water Enterprise Fund a sum of money for the purpose of funding operating expenses as deemed necessary by the Water Board of Commissioners for fiscal year 2025, or take any action thereto. This is a standard transfer.
This is a standard article that is on the warrant every year, and for this fiscal year, we don't have to transfer any money into the Water Enterprise, so we'll be recommending no action on it.
So,
Motion to support.
we have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Article 4, to transfer to the General Stabilization Fund to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $50,000 to the town's General Stabilization Fund pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 5B, or take any action in relation thereto. This is part of our principles that we put together of how we need to operate in the appropriate fiscal fashion and put money aside for us to be able to, from free cash towards a stabilization fund. I think it's been several years since we've made a donation to our stabilization fund, and this seems appropriate at this point in time to do so.
Yeah, do you know when the last time we actually put any money in general stabilization? It's been a long time.
Prior to me, for sure.
I think, I was gonna say it's prior to me.
It's been quite some
I
time.
remember doing it, but I can't tell you when.
Yeah, the balance, I do have the balance. The balance was $349,000. And like Jake said, this is consistent with the financial policies that both advisory board and select board adopted earlier this fiscal year. This will bring up our stabilization fund balance to $399,000, and put us in a better position and put us on our way to try to at least reach the goals that we've set.
Yeah, I'm generally I think this is a good idea, of course. The concern, if I have a concern, and I think I asked you this, if we don't pass the override, we still have, or this is an obligation to do regardless of anything else. Right?
If it's voted upon at town meeting, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
To be candid, that's part of the reason we're doing it. Because if we have a large free cash balance, it's easy to use for a reoccurring cost when we know we shouldn't be doing it. It's bad practice. And historically, that's what we've done. And so if we remove $50,000 from free cash and put it in general stabilization, to be honest, it's hard to get our hands on it. And to me, that's part of the reason why I want to do it, is so that we can't get our hands on it. and we can set aside a small, it's small.
Yeah.
But I think it's more about setting the expectation and the good practice annually that we're going to do this. And we're gonna abide by the policies that we've adopted, and we're gonna do our best to have strong financial reserves.
Yeah, like you said, so if the override doesn't pass, it'd be nice to have this money available. And do we have a goal amount for this stabilization fund?
So I put best practice numbers on, let me pull that slide, I'm sorry, I thought we were on it. So, best practice is 5 to 10% of your operating budget. So these are the target numbers. Our financial policies actually say 8 to 10% will be our target. In this slide, I've included 5 to 10 because it's more achievable at the moment. So the low end of the balance, as you'll see, is just shy of $700,000 in our general stabilization, when that would be 5% of our overall operating budget. So I did this calculation that shows essentially what our reserve balances will be in FY26 if our spending plan goes forward as proposed. And so our general stabilization will be 399. Our free cash balance after we use, it's about $408,000 for a variety of purposes. We'll have a free cash balance of $383,000, leaving us a total balance of $782 in our, what I would describe as reserves, which actually, as I was doing the math, was better than I thought we'd be. It's still shy of where we want to be. It's about $300,000 less than our stabilization that we want, and it's actually pretty close to what free cash balance we want to be holding. So, so the variance in total is about 335. Again, I will say just the target balances that I've used are best practice. So they're on the low end, they're a little lower than what our policies are, but still, they're best practices, and I think that range is a fair place for us to be shooting to be.
I should know this, but what's it take to get money out of the general stabilization
2/3 to put money in, 2/3 to take money out.
at the town meeting?
Yes, at town meeting.
Yes.
And if we do have to, if the override does fail, we are gonna more than likely end up at another town meeting, so.
So we. Motion is support.
Okay, second? Second, all those in favor?
Thanks, thanks for the explanation.
So Article 5 is to transfer to the capital improvement program stabilization fund to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $50,000 to the town's capital improvement program stabilization fund pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 5B, or take any action in relation thereto. Again, this is the other half of the commitment that we're making to stay consistent with our financial policy, to make sure that we're planning towards the future for expenses that we know that are coming and that we can already see right now that we can't sustain smaller requests. So we're going to need to plan for something for the future here, and this is what we're trying to do, trying to have a stabilization. Anyone understands that the couple $100,000 that we have in each one of these accounts would cover, I don't know, the legal fees on anything if we ever got in trouble, maybe. So we're in a bad position as we sit right now. We need to get our coffers to the point where they should be. And that's only to just reserve just in case something does occur within our town, or, you know, if there's some form of litigation that it has to occur within the town's responsibility, we need to have these funds.
Do you have a similar slide like that last one, or maybe the last one covered it? What's the balance now?
A zero.
Okay.
It's newly created, to be fair, so we just created a special town meeting, but we don't have any funds in it at the moment. this kind of gives you an idea. I have a few slides on this just to have the stabilization fund helps us plan long-term. It also, for any major capital need, we essentially know that we're gonna have to request a debt exclusion to fund. So I know, I know it's only $50,000, but if we get into the habit and practice of doing it annually, we can build it up. And the idea is to hopefully reduce the requests that we continue to go to residents for. So at least offset some of that cost that we're putting on the taxpayer, so that if we're responsible and do this, we're able to do that. We're also, we've been pretty aggressive with seeking out grants.
Yep.
And so some of those happen mid-year. So if we have some funding in this, a lot of the grant funding, we're required to put a local match toward it. So this will help us, less scrambling, more planning.
Does it take a town meeting vote to transfer out?
Oh, yeah. So we would definitely need, this is considered a stabilization fund, just like general stabilization fund. 2/3 in, 2/3 out. Yep.
So how could you use it for grants?
So,
Call a town meeting.
oh no, we'd have to call a town meeting, but generally speaking, seasonally, we have a special, so, and generally speaking, we have sufficient time between grant award and either the special or the annual to request, the matching grant funds. These are just some of the improvements we kind of know are on the horizon. I put the road and infrastructure improvements just for a good laugh, but we do have $10 million worth of, based on our pavement management plan. We do have about $10 million worth of road and infrastructure improvements. The fire station, we're gonna have to do something at some point, either invest in the current building, or if it ends up moving, we're gonna have to invest, if it ends up moving to Wall Street or elsewhere, gonna have to invest in that building. In our capital plan, we have a replacement of engine 6 coming up in initially it was 28, I think we pushed it to 29, but I don't think we're gonna be able to push it any more than 29. And then there are police station improvements, namely a request from the chief for an addition to the police station in the amount of about 1.3. These are just some examples, not the only examples, but we know we have some significant capital costs on the horizon that we gotta start thinking about.
When money goes into this, what kind of account does it go into, or basically, are we getting any interest on it?
We do get interest on it, but it has not been significant. If the money's been there for 10 years, we're gonna see, we have not seen.
So it's just like a savings account. Are there, what kind of restrictions are there? And what I was debating is, what can you put the money in, what can you invest the money in? Just a savings account and get simple interest, or can you do like a money market?
I'd have to get back to you on the
Okay.
details. I can get back to you. I just don't wanna say the wrong thing.
And we got to be pretty careful with it.
Yeah, there definitely are limits to how aggressive you can be, but, let me get back to you on that.
Be good to get a little something.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It wouldn't be bad, but at the same time, we want to make sure it's available to us too. So if you put it in something that has a time period to it, that could get you a better interest rate, maybe challenge.
And it's a fair point, because I think 2 years ago, the town audit, one of the recommendations was to look at some of the investment accounts we have, because it was their opinion that we could be seeing a higher return. Last year, I actually talked to the treasurer collector about looking at that. And our advisor didn't necessarily agree with that, but it is something that we kind of monitor. But I'll get back to you with more specifics on that.
You do, you want it the liquid, but
Yeah.
And then, the money market accounts, for instance, are not really actually insured. They're good, but they're not insured.
Yeah.
That's true. Thanks.
Yeah.
How much did we I don't have it written down here. Do we have a motion to, make the transfer? Or to support the article?
Motion.
Motion made, seconded, all those in favor? Alright. Okay, now we're getting to the fun stuff. Article number 6, the operating budget, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, transfer from available funds or borrow pursuant to any applicable statute or any combination thereof to fund the various departments, boards, committees, commissions, and other operating expenses of the town for fiscal year 2026, beginning July 1st, 2025, or take any action thereto. So I don't know how much we want to go through the operating budget. I mean, we've,
Completely up to you. We've done it many times. I can go through it again if you'd like. I can give a modified version of it.
I would, if you want to, you have a brief overview, or is it not very brief?
How brief you want it. I can make it as brief as you want. I'm not kidding. I can make it as brief as you
Do you
want.
have that sort of one page? I've seen it.
I don't have it. I can go get copies if you want. I do have.
I have.
Do you want me to, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Let me pull that.
Maybe, yeah.
That's a
it's
great
just
idea. That's an excellent idea. Let me pull that up. If I can find it.
Because that's kind of what we're using as our little highlighter flyer when we talk to people. Is there one upstairs? Sure. It's more important. Does this get broadcast?
Yeah.
Good, okay, so it's important.
Is this what you're talking about or no?
I believe so. This is the one, front, back, yeah, one side's
Yes.
expenses, the other side's
Yeah.
revenue. Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah.
All right, this will, thank you for, that's a great suggestion. Okay, so the overall town side operations and debt is increasing by 4.19%. Let me make this bigger. Can you, everybody read this?
Peter's one is
The level service, Groton Dunstable Region School District increases 7.89%. Just a quick breakdown of expenses. General government is increasing by just shy of 14%, public safety 3%, schools, that's both school districts, just shy of 8%, public works 2.5%, community services 3%, library and rec 3%. The town debt service, that's the excluded debt, is decreasing significantly by 41%. And then insurance and assessments are increasing by just shy of 11%.
Yeah, so when I initially, just kind of naive,
Yep.
when I first saw this, I was like, okay, I saw the 13.8 up top, I was like, oh, okay. I figured some of it was, insurance and, the assessments, or the assessments probably retired, right, pretty much.
Insurance and assessments, that pension's going up 24, our pension assessment's going up 24%. Our health insurance, we only increased our health insurance budget by 2%. The actual rate increase is 14%. So because we had someone fall off the plan, we think we're gonna be able to absorb that within the existing budget. And then our general liability is going up, let's see, 3.2%.
So the general government, why so high? I know you told me this.
So that is largely based on two things. One, our regional agreement with the treasurer collector position with the town of Bethel. So since that started, our match has been our contribution to the health plan, because the former regional treasurer collector got his health insurance from the town of Dunstable. So the major portion of our match salary proportion has been coming out of the health insurance budget. So now we've made an offer, we have a signed contract for a new treasurer collector, which we expect that not to be the case. So what we've had to do is like I said, we've been able to absorb the increase in our health insurance budget because we have the treasure collector falling off. But what we're seeing is that increase, we're basically seeing it in the salary line of the treasure collector budget. That's one major reason why. And the second major reason why is a new contract that was signed for the town administrator. Those are the two main drivers.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
I talked to some.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, then we get.
So, and I should say, the other thing that includes, we are doing a compensation and classification study right now for administrative employees. So that includes a $10,000 salary reserve, just for any adjustments that may need to be made based on that survey.
The other reason that anything changes and the percentage looks so high is we're dealing with such a small number
Yes.
to start off with. That
Yes.
Curious about what the number is going from to, because, yeah, like you said, it's a very small portion of the budget.
Yeah.
So when you make the 10,000, even the $10,000 shoots it up,
You know,
5-6%.
5% of the
Yeah.
total.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So other pieces that are noteworthy, I guess, we've talked about this before too, but the regional dispatch assessment, we're expecting, well, we know that's coming in online in FY '29. As a reminder, we have 3 years free of charge because we went to a new regional dispatch center. So the state incentivizes communities to do that, so we benefited from, this is the second year of that. While next year is free, rather than coming up with all the money at once, which would really be difficult in a budget like ours, we're trying to be strategic and plan each year to progressively increase so that when we owe it, we'll have it. So that's a $22,000 increase in total in both. It's a $12,000 increase in the fire department budget. It's a $10,000 increase in the police department budget. We've set aside $120,000 for.
This regional dispatch.
Yeah.
Will be less expensive than previous, which I think we had with either Groton or Pepperell.
It was with Groton earlier. It will be about the same. It's not gonna save us a ton of money. What it does though, and I think the town of Groton would agree, is I think the service is better than what we were getting. So I think it's a very, not that Groton wasn't, I'm not saying that.
And is
But-
it, there's just somebody always there for a call?
Oh, yeah, someone's always, and the operation is professionally run. The executive director is very, very good. We're getting very good service.
That's that in Tewksbury, is that thing?
No, it's in Pepperell. It's in Pepperell.
Oh, good.
So that's about 120,000 we know is going to capital, where that's a free cash appropriation. That's a major breakdown of the expenditures. And then for the revenue side, again, we all know this, but the major revenue source is our tax levy. The tax levy for operating is projected to increase by 3.5%. Again, debt exclusion revenue is decreasing. Total tax levy, because of the debt service decreasing and the excluded debt decrease is 2.2%. Our budget's based on the governor's number for state aid. The House number was lower than that. So it's not a huge number for us. It's not gonna swing us majorly one way or the other. And then lastly, we've increased our projected local receipts as well. So I guess what I'd say about this is we're being as aggressive as we've been on the revenue side. I wouldn't want to be any more aggressive with our projections. The last thing we are doing, we're using 25,000 of overlay. The assessors agreed to free up some of the overlay for FY '26. It's a small number, but still.
What does that mean, please?
So overlay is what we fund tax abatements and exemptions with. So every year, generally speaking, every year since I've been here, and I think prior, we plan on a $30,000 contribution to the overlay to cover any mid-year abatements or exemptions that are granted. This year, by the way, we're only planning to contribute $20,000 overlay, but in addition, we're also getting 25 of overlay surplus that they've declared surplus within the overlay to contribute to our revenue streams for FY '26.
So this overlay, it goes into an account.
Yeah, we have
It
it.
builds up, and it builds up. Okay.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Which one's the state?
State is right here, 430.
That's what share cheap, that's what that was. Yeah.
Almost the smallest number on the page, just.
Yes. Just want to point that out.
Yeah, just one.
So the level service, this is a breakdown of the tax levy. This is the basic revenue change, 2.5 plus new growth. We're increasing local receipt projections from 750 to 800. State aid is based on the governor's number. Our reliance on free cash for operating expenses is being reduced from 358 to 308. And let's see, we've talked about excluded debt and the overlay surplus. So the last thing I'll say is, based on all that, we need a $480,841 general fund override to balance. That's to fund a level service budget. The breakdown of need, 65,000 is needed to level service fund the town side of government. $401,000 is to fund the Groton Regional School District, and then slightly over 14,000 is to fund the assessment of the Greater Lowell Tech High School. And that's just based on proportionally assigning our new revenues based on what our percent spending is.
And just to make sure everyone understands, level service just means that there's no additions, nothing's changing, there's no additional services, there's no additional team members, employees, staff members, anything else like that. I think the school, the only thing they're doing is they're trading one staff out for another, so they can add a nurse while they're subtracting an administrator. So it's the only thing that's becoming different with any of the budgets. But level service is level service. So where we're at right now, which is not a great position within our school or town, this just keeps it at the status quo and stops the bleeding per se, this $480,000.
So the last thing I'll say on this is the estimated tax increase based on average single-family tax bill for directly attributable to the override amount is $383 on the average single-family tax bill. That's on an annual basis. And that's the summary of the budget.
I just want.
Any question? You guys got anything?
383 divided by 12. So it's $30 a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
$8 a week. We get down to the days, but that's only about $1 a day.
For the
That's what it
price,
keeps.
for the price of a cup of coffee.
It's like $1.
Yeah.
This is the flow chart. It could get a little wonky based on what the results are. If the override passes, we have a balanced budget. If the override fails, but Groton passes the override, the town will have a $480,841 deficit on the town side of the budget. If that worst case financial scenario happens, then that's devastating. impact to the municipal side of the budget, just because we're so small, we're so
So
small
lean,
right now,
yeah.
so lean, thank you. We're so lean right now. If the override fails in Groton 2, remember, we are required to proportionally match what the town of Groton contributes to the Groton-Dunstable Regional School District. Our proportion is 23% of the overall expenditure of the schools. So based on that formula, which is based on student enrollment, we will still need a $278,000 override to match the Groton contribution if the override fails in both communities. So that said, if that fails, then we will have a $278,000 deficit, and the schools will have to cut about $875,000 from their budget after reducing their budget last year by $2.7 million, cutting 24 positions. I think this, if my memory's right, it
12 more.
results, I was gonna say 14, but maybe you're right, it's 12. So those are kind of the scenarios we're dealing with. And there are a variety of other scenarios that could happen. Those are the most likely.
You plan to kind of show this at town meeting.
This is the town meeting presentation I'm planning to go through.
As we all know, it's not pretty. If the override doesn't pass, if the override doesn't pass and Groton passes theirs, we're in some serious trouble. We're closing buildings, we're reducing our police force, we're reducing our fire department, that's worst case scenario. Still, if we don't have the 278, we're probably in a very similar situation. We don't have money to cut. There's no extra. We've gone through it enough here, so I entertain a motion to support the override budget as presented.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Is there time for questions?
Sure, go for it. Yeah.
So last year,
Mhm.
Pavel Kozinski from Bunkers. Last year, we were talking about 3-year override.
Yes.
Or authority to have, basically.
Mhm.
So that failed.
Yeah.
So we knew this is coming.
Yes,
What happens next year?
same thing.
Based on what we knew last year.
Yeah.
Same thing? So basically we're,
There's a,
That's kind of why we went for the 3-year override, because we knew those expenses are still gonna be
Right,
there.
I know
So
that.
it was just an honest assessment.
so the situation really didn't change.
it
Just got pushed down the road.
So it did in the situation that we reduced, it was 24 teachers, nurses, administrators from the school district.
Right.
So they reduced their staff by 24. We also, we had some municipal cuts on our end, but the major thing was the school budget that was the driver. What we were looking for was to replace the overnight police officer. So we were going to have 2 police officers a night, as we currently have 1. We were going to look for some more support for on-call fire department, which we didn't have. So we're still limited with our on-call budget with regard to those firefighters. So on our side, we saw a municipal hit to those 2 departments. And on the school side, they took a hit of, like I said, the 24 folks there. So the number is much smaller than what we were looking at from last year. Last year was to keep that level of service for 3 years, to have the new superintendent come in, make an evaluation of the personnel that was available to that office, and sort of make his decision as to which way, how to progress forward. So we were looking at, like I said, reestablishing that nighttime police officer, getting better coverage for our fire department, and then level funding the schools at that point in time. They did, it failed in both communities, and the school did what they said they were going to do, was reduce their staff. If you don't have children in the school system, I can tell you I do. The class sizes are somewhat uncontrollable in some of the situations that are there now because of the reductions. There's definitely more disciplinary issues that have come up. I won't go into any specifics, but I can tell you that I've personally seen and been a part of some of those issues that have come up, and it's been challenging. And this, like I said, this doesn't replace a single teacher. This doesn't do anything. The only thing that, just to be completely upfront, they're reducing an administrator and adding another nurse, because at times through this year, which we heard from the school board a couple weeks ago, was that the nurse is literally at the point of running back and forth between the schools because the fact that she's the only one, and she's getting to the point where there's 4 kids waiting over here, throw a Band-Aid, get an ice pack, take a temperature, run back over the other building and do the same thing. And it's just, it's getting to the point like they need that second nurse, and the superintendent, understanding the budgetary roles and situation that we're in, knows that even adding the nurse on top of would be seen as they're adding back staff. So he decided to eliminate an administrator in order to be able to fund the role of the additional nurse there. It's definitely challenging. This budget here, like I said, the $480,000 of override, it just keeps everything flat. So while we might have an additional nurse, so she's not running back and forth all day long, we are still having class sizes that are above the average within the state. We're still having issues that, I'm sure we'll still continue to have disciplinary issues, as we don't have the same level of staffing that we had seen in years previous. One of the things that I personally like to highlight, because I do think, as much as we're sitting here as a group, that we're the ones that sort of developed the budget and discussed this whole thing ad nauseum for such a long period of time here, that we're looking at adding our own budget, adding taxes to our own selves here. But when we were funding at full capacity, one of the things that I think, as Dunstable, we own that school across the street. We're responsible for it there. I know the school district runs it, but that was rated the 3rd best elementary school in the state of Massachusetts when it was properly funded. I don't imagine that we're going to be anywhere near that level of rating because the class sizes have gotten larger. They're reduced the number of staff within the rooms, and just don't have the same level of support to the kids that we had previously. So,
which administrative position on schools being eliminated?
it's in the central office. It's one of the support staff.
Support?
Yeah.
So what's gonna happen next year and the year after that, assuming that the overrides do pass all 3 years in a row?
Yeah.
Is something going to change for the 4th year?
So right now,
Visibility for that? Or-
the biggest thing that we're doing, so as we heard from last year's override, and we listened to what sort of the opposition to the override, and we heard what people were saying, was it, can we do operational audits? Can we find other ways to, we open up the regional agreement to look at other ways to potentially lessen the impact, not only to us, because Groton needs an override as well. So it's both communities. I say it speaking from our side because I'm more educated on that topic. But this, we looked at those different opportunities, and the operational audit, we're expecting results here potentially, at least maybe a preliminary report prior to town meeting. It will be something that we would implement probably in 26, but you wouldn't see that in a savings until 27. So this is fiscal year 26's budget. So it wouldn't be something we could change today, but it might be something we could potentially save on in 27. I can tell you, because I've been on the ad hoc group that has been discussing the regional school, the school agreement. We looked at it this way, that way. We looked at 12 different options, and basically the way we have things set up right now is the best option for Dunstable. If we look at any other option that an expert had developed for us, this was an outside consultant that developed these different options for us. Each one of the 12, aside from the one we have right now, is worse for Dunstable. So our agreement as we sit now would be best if we kind of keep things as it is now. It would be great if we could find another way. Obviously, Groton might be able to fund a little bit more, but as we look, right, Groton's looking for an override as well. If we have the 2 levels of override because of the fact that we need the 480 to level service, but even if Groton fails their override and they don't vote to keep level service at the school, they're still funding it to a point where we still can't afford it. And even last year, they provided us with a gift of $600,000 to kind of keep the schools in the best position they possibly could. They can't provide that again. It's part of one of the stipulations where it's a one-time gift and it's not a multi-year situation. So they know that in regional agreements and regional situations, this can happen. So that in order to stop one community from like sort of overpaying for things, that they provide us a one-time gift for the school district. A one-time gift would ease the responsibility from Dunstable, or we would have been in a situation to go to a super town meeting, and some of these budgetary cuts that we're discussing now would have ended up in this year's budget for us. And I can tell you, we've run down the scenarios and with regard, if the override doesn't pass, because even at the 280, 278 and change, even at the 280, there's just no fat to cut from. It is all like just, we're down to the bare minimum. Like I said, we already are down to 1 officer at night. We're already down to sort of an understaffed fire department. We're an understaffed school system, or, there's nothing left for us to just cut one more layer to. We're down to sort of the as I say, like the ligament in the bone, the muscle and the fat's been cut away, where this is it. And we have looked at what it would look like, and it literally is, there's not too many municipal buildings in the town. So you can imagine it's not going to be this building that's going to close, but there will be another building that would have to be sacrificed. And then, we're starting looking at other services like police and fire. Those are our next largest budgetary items, not bid items.
So there's no foreseeable relief.
The only relief that could really, relief that could really come, and that's one of the things that I think as a town, as a school district, and as a community, we've all reached out to our state representatives. We've written several letters both to our the governor's office, Ways and Means Committee. We've presented all these things to those and said, hey, your level funding of us, it's one of the charts. I know it's one of the charts in the presentation, but they've level funded us for so long that where they used to provide us almost 30% of of the budget need for the schools is now down to like 12, somewhere in that neighborhood. Don't quote me for exactly what it is, but the funding that we used to receive from the state has decreased to the point where we can't really do anything. And when you look at the school's budget, and we've dissected it 8 different ways, it really comes down to, it's mostly of theirs is just salary. There's no anything else they can do there. So they're a union agreement that is steps and lanes, that as a teacher progresses through their career, they move along with incremental raises, and then they move up another step. And those are all programmed in. The average increase that we see year over year just from their budgets is about 6% on the schools. So as Jason was representing, that we only get 2.5% from increase in the Prop 2.5, and then from local receipts that usually only averages out to a little over 3%. So we're taking in 3% more, and their cost is going up by 6%. And there's always going to be that 3% gap that really presents the challenge for both communities. And unless the state comes in with theirs, or we find a way to be more efficient, and that's where we're kicking the tires on just about everything we can, we're just not seeing that those dollars falling out. you know, we're seeing smaller incremental things that we can make some changes on. But it's, you know, we're finding $10,000 when we need to find $1 million. And we're kind of stuck. And long-term solution is more, I know that Jason has said this several times, it's kind of like, what, as a community, where are we going to go if the state doesn't continue to fund, or they do continue to fund us this way, or they don't find a way to increase the funding to the school district, then we're kind of going to be in a spot where we have to look at where do we want to, what town do we want to be? Do we want to have a library? Do we want to have police coverage? Do we want to have a fire department? Do we want to have a good school district? And that's literally the last things that we have as a town that we can cut back on without shutting the lights off on this building. And those are obviously things that, as a community, you know, you look towards having those sorts of things, of programs for kids, for seniors, for everyone at the library. You look for the safety aspect of your fire and police, and then you look at the next generation and whether or not, you know, sort of that obligation, at least that I personally feel, to sort of teach the next generation so they're able to support us, right? So they come back and live here in Dunstable and are able to hopefully make this place a better place. And then, yeah.
Are you gonna be able to give this talk at the town meeting?
Yes, he's going to.
That's a good talk. I
Yeah.
can't hear about Article 6.
Yep.
So I'm gonna take off.
Oh, not a problem.
Thanks.
I-
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I know you're gonna force me to.
Yes.
That's something we'll talk about later. So Article 6, we've supported here. Any other further discussion? Article 6, we can move on to 7 here. Okay. Article 7, which is regarding the revolving fund expenditure limits, to see if the town will vote pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half. That's an interesting one. To set the annual expenditure limits for fiscal year 2026 for all revolving funds established by the general bylaws as follows, or take any action thereto. There's a listing here we can go through of cemetery of $10,000, recreation of $15,000, COA transportation at $3,500, permit application fees at $5,000, approval not required plans is $15,000, and the transfer station at $190,000. This is, I think, the same year over year. So
There's been the rec revolving, they asked to increase their
costs are
limit a
going up.
little bit,
That's fine.
and transfer station increased a little bit, but otherwise, yes, it's the same.
Yeah.
And this is a standard article.
Questions, comments, concerns, anything?
Will we approve?
All right, second, all right, all's in favor? All right. Support. All right, Article 8, which is the capital improvements for municipal departments, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of money for remodeling, reconstructing, and making repairs to existing town buildings, infrastructure, and purchase of necessary equipment, including all incidental and related costs, or take any action in relation thereto. That's a new one.
What's that?
Yeah.
So this is a $120,000 request from free cash for capital improvements on the municipal side. These are what we've identified as capital projects. If you add these up, it's more than $120,000. So we're gonna have to do our best to find alternative funding opportunities as well. Hopefully through grants and or state earmark funding or budgetary funding. So, but these are the needs that we have for FY '26. New police cruiser, which is an annual expense. Taser replacements, which are out of warranty and outdated. Same with the fire mobile radios in the trucks, which that will only, that $20,000 only half the need. We need a new sander spreader for the new new plow truck, the highway purchase through chapter 90 funds. And then, some exterior, mostly exterior lighting, needs at the library.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't last year, was it last year or the year before, where didn't we do something to boosting the radios for the fire department? Wasn't it we replaced the radio system on
So there are there's handhelds and then there's the radios in the trucks.
Yeah.
We have, I think that was grant funded, or not funded, I wanna say.
I thought it was.
It wasn't last year, it might have been 23. No, it might have been 24.
Something to improve the signal, improve coverage.
Yeah, that's what it was, yeah.
Yeah, I just can't remember, I don't remember the
I don't remember
details.
the funding of it, I just was,
Yeah.
you know, if we'd just boosted it, I know it wasn't cheap. I thought that was
Oh, was it the repeater?
Maybe that was it.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a repeater on the water tower. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, that was, I don't believe that was with, when I was here. But yeah, there is a repeater on the water tower, that was installed recently.
but it was fairly, okay, is this just to replace old outdated radios, mobile radios?
Yes.
Okay. And, go ahead.
No, they still work.
$20,000 pretty expensive right now. I think I agree. I'm assuming we have quotes on that? Yeah.
This goes back a few years. I think the police cruiser used to kind of be in the police budget. Now it's out of capital.
Yes.
It's like that.
Yeah.
Do we?
Yeah,
buy
we
it?
did, we pulled it from the budget and put it in capital.
We buy it?
Yes.
No,
Yeah,
lease?
yeah, yeah. No lease.
You can't release them because the hour meters on them are.
We do, we have a
They
lease.
got 1,000 miles with 5,000 hours on it.
We typically seem to get a police cruiser each year. I guess, how many do we have? Do we ever get a break? Probably not.
I would assume, does that 60,000 include the sale of the other the cruiser it's replacing?
Trade-in.
Okay, so we get some.
I think I have the, I think I have the vehicle inventory here.
Well, yeah, if we're doing the trade in, we just rotate.
It's, I know the last time, Chief Orr kind of went through it. I believe he said the problem is that once you get to a certain number of hours on there, that it just ends up parked across the street at West Auto instead of in service, because you start to see there's a certain turnover where we start to see more maintenance than it's worth to the community.
Sorry. I know I have the inventory somewhere, I'll send it to you. Sorry. I just
I
got
think we have
having a hard time putting my hands on it.
4, right? 3 marked, 1 unmarked.
Typically, I think 4 is kind of a.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know if that includes the chiefs.
I'll send you that info.
Yeah.
And this is limited to just the one, for me personally. 8 is limited to what is known here. This isn't a overarching, they're allowed to, the select would be allowed to do anything beyond these capital expenditures. Does that make sense?
So are you asking if the capital money can be used for any other projects other than the ones listed?
Right.
So the way we normally do it is to build flexibility in the motion so that, say we get a grant for half the police cruiser, we still have that money and able to address other capital items in the capital plan. That's typically how the vote, the motion of the vote is drafted at town meeting. So the answer is yes.
For capital only.
For capital, oh yeah, for capital projects only. But,
Capital.
but if there is money left remaining in the article, they can be used for other projects other than these.
But it's just fiscal year 26.
No, it's a separate article, so it carries. You can carry them on year to year. You don't have to.
Is there anything in the capital planning budget right now?
There's, we had a $20,000 allocation for, the police remember we had the window and doors at the police station?
Yep.
So we received, we were able to secure an earmark of 45,000 for that project. We estimated it would be about 65,000. It actually came in right just shy of 45. So we have 20,000, well, we don't have 20,000 anymore, but we have about, I think it's like 14 now in that's sitting there, for other capital needs.
Does it need any kind of approval, or it's just a bit like you and the chief can agree to spend on something different?
Yeah, I mean, usually the approval, yeah, exactly. Usually the approval is to discuss with the select board and get their approval.
So, yeah, like I said, I don't think this is enough money.
It's not.
I
So,
think if you're reading between the lines that, there's about 150,000 up there. You got 14 in the coffers, and if something comes through with a grant to pay for part of the, whether it be the radios or the police cruiser, that's sort of.
that's sort of where it's.
Maybe, that's a possibility. And there might be some budgetary, I mean, we're kind of monitoring FY '25 budget now.
Right.
And so like, if we're able to use some of the police budget now for for a portion of the taser, so we're trying to manage it so that we can address everything that we need to for
Okay,
26.
yeah, basically what's going, so 120K will be the max.
Correct.
And if we don't get any other sources of funding, one of these is not gonna be.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? Or entertain a motion to support Article 8.
Motion
Made, second? All's in favor? Aye. Okay. Article 9, water system infrastructure improvements, to see if the town will vote to transfer from the water retained earnings a sum of money for design, repair, replacement, construction, and installation of various water infrastructure and associated work, including all incidental and related costs, or take any action thereto.
So this is an appropriation from their retained earnings. Last year, they requested 35,000. This year, they're requesting the same for, their budget really can't support. If there's any real capital needs, their budget doesn't have sufficient funds to address it. So what this is meant to do, they have a capital plan, but this is not just to address some of the items in the capital plan. It's also to be there basically in the case they need it, because they don't have sufficient funding within their budget. I mean, if there was a water break somewhere, it would be, and they need a rebuild, it would be tough for them to absorb that cost within that budget. So that's the idea. It's similar to how we use our free cash. We're trying to use our free cash for one-time expenditures. Retained earnings should be used in the same way. One-time revenues for one-time expenditures. That's the request from the water commission.
I almost wonder if it should be more, to be honest with you, because $35,000 to get the crew to respond to a water main break.
I
They'll pull up to it and be like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
broken. What do you want to do?
I
Definitely broken.
agree. The only problem with that is the retained earnings is only 68,000.
I understand. So that would get the crew to show up and maybe open up the hole around the water main break. Okay,
Takes a town meeting vote to get money out of this, water enterprise retained earnings.
Yeah, so it's just like a free cash appropriation. We need town meeting approval.
And money gets into the retained earnings fund, or it's just extra?
So it's exactly the same as free cash. So it's budgeted funds that aren't expended and additional revenues that weren't more than what was anticipated. So the combination is our retained earnings.
Rolls into the retained earnings.
And, right, and if there's a balance in your retained earnings, it rolls from year to year. So those three things are what make up the balance,
Just like free cash.
just like free cash.
Good to know.
Yep.
Thanks. Like I said, it's not enough to make too much of it. We can fix one repair, one line maybe somewhere.
and entertain a motion to support Article 9. Second, in favor? Thank you. Article 10, which is a Community Preservation Committee recommendations to see what transfers or other actions the town may vote with respect to any recommended action of the Community Preservation Committee or take any action in relation thereto. Yeah,
This is the,
just a placeholder.
it's an annual article, a standard article. What this does is it allocates 10% of the annual receipts to affordable housing, 10% for open space and rec, 10% for historic preservation. The remaining balance will go to undesignated. It also allows the CPC to use up to 5% for administrative purposes. So this is, we're anticipating $342,000 in CPA funds for FY26 based on what we've heard from the state. And in addition, under this article, we typically approve the debt service payment for the Ferrari Farm property. And this year, we will be approving the debt payment for the Union Building as well.
342.
457.
That number is what we've taken in or a combination of the surcharge and what we get from the state.
That's what is expected in total for 26.
Surcharge and state combined.
Yes.
This one comes up historically. Do we have a balance for what's in those funds?
So this is as up to date as I have. It's not like up to today.
I'm
But,
gonna hold you to the penny.
open space balance of 60,000. Historic balance of 486,000. Housing balance of 353,000. And unreserved balance of 1,090,000.
So you listed like 4 accounts there. And 10% goes in each of those.
So 10%,
Yeah, so they get 40%, then you get 5% for admin. Who's risk?
So, yeah, so
The
you,
unrestricted is the balance that rolls over, so
Yeah,
10%.
That's,
Yeah, 10 goes to 10% of 342,000 or 34 grand
yes,
will go into open space, 34 grand into historical preservation, 34 grand into housing, affordable housing.
correct.
And whatever balance there is left after that
Right.
goes into there.
That's exactly right.
do you have any kind of breakdown of what's on the state portion versus the?
I don't.
Central? Okay.
I don't have that, I'm sorry.
No, no. Just curious if they're sort of holding up their end.
Yeah.
My guess is no.
I agree, that's why I'm asking, I'm just curious.
What was it? Something came through from the state and they were, was it a 21%? Normally the match, when this program first started out, it was 100% match.
Mhm.
And, every once in a while, some years are better than others. This year, the initial match, I thought was somewhere around 21%, but that's just for the first round, because we are, participate in all 3 rounds, we get additional contributions in the second and third round as well. So last year, we ended up, even though the state was saying it was only gonna be in the, I don't know, it might have been even less than 20%. We still ended up with almost 50% of,
After the 3 rounds.
yes. So we still ended up with 150, I think it was slightly less than $150,000 from the state matching funds, so it's worth the price of admission. Also, just for your information, 2026, the Ferrari farm is paid for. Okay, I think the last payment is August 2026. And that takes that off the books. But then, of course, then we'll be paying for the union schools, so don't get too excited.
Sorry. I'd
Okay,
entertain a motion to support Article 10.
motion.
All those in favor?
I go to 11.
Still swallowing. So, Article 10, Article 11, to remove invasive weeds at Lake Massapog, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds, including CPA funds, a sum of money for the continued removal of invasive weeds in Lake Massapog, including all incidental and related costs based upon the recommendations of the town preservation committee, or take any action thereto. This is the annual one as well.
It seems like the CPC gets us annual,
Do we have a dollar value?
$3,500.
Question on this. Whole bunch of subsequent articles start exactly the same way. Vote to transfer from available funds, including CPA funds. What available funds?
So the community preservation, and Joan, correct me if I get something wrong here, But our community preservations, group is kind of before, so I'll try to state it the best way I can here, is when you get your tax bill on an annual basis, there's a,
So I get CPA.
yes,
But what other available funds?
there is no other available funds.
Oh, transfer from available funds including CPA, which implies there are some other funds.
There are not.
So it's strictly CPA.
It's,
Yeah, it's legal jargon
It
from,
just has,
it's strictly CPA.
okay, thank you. So it has exactly the same meaning in subsequent.
Yeah.
So it's all CPA.
I wish there were some other funds to be able to help out.
Until you found the answer.
I wish. We're open to suggestions.
Yeah, right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, not a problem.
Thanks.
All right, any questions, comments, concerns?
Do the weeds ever go away?
Good question.
Keep putting the stuff in there.
Motion of support.
We have a second? All those in favor? Article 12, Lauderfield improvements. To see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds, including CPA funds, a sum of money for professional services to develop a field assessment, evaluation, and design improvements to Lauderfield, including all incidental and related costs based upon the recommendations of the Community Preservation Committee, or take any action thereto.
There are sinkholes at Lauderfield.
Yeah.
They're big, and they continue to show up on an annual basis.
More stump hits.
More stumps, yes. So we have a strong suspicion that that's what's causing it. It's just buried stumps throughout the field. So the Recreation Commission requested funding, $80,000 to do an assessment, evaluation of the field, to design improvements, and to get to a point where we have documents to bid in order to stabilize the field.
I was gonna say 80,000 is a lot, but to do the design. Do they think it'll actually fit? How many more of these stump pits are you?
We had, I think my first year, we had one in the parking lot that highway helped repair. And this year, we had several, but two big ones. One at the front, one near the softball field, the school borders, I guess. And highway helped us with those too. Well, with their machine, they couldn't even, I think they left some of the stumps in because they just couldn't move them, they were so big. So,
So they actually dug down and pulled them out?
oh yeah, some of, yes, and they were deep.
Oh, yeah.
They were deep. Yeah. And you probably remember, as part of the tennis court project, they found, I don't know, what was it? Joan, do you remember 30 or 40 stumps just in that footprint of the tennis court that needed to be removed? So it's just causing problems at the field.
I'm not against them doing anything, but we're paying $80,000 to tell somebody to go dig a hole.
Well, no, we're hoping to have a plan to stabilize the field.
Dig a hole.
Dig them out.
Yeah. Any other stabilization is gonna cost way more than digging a hole.
Like what?
Any sort of, like injection of anything of any sort of a grout or product to sort of stop the sinking from happening, or treating the soil is going to be an insane amount of money. So I imagine what your $80,000 is going to go to is getting an engineer to call a geotech to send out a boring machine that's going to drill 5 to 10 shots through here, they're gonna tell you you have wood there, and then they're gonna charge you to say, you can have multiple options, where you dig down, put down a geotextile fabric,
Yeah, no,
and
that's,
bridge over it, and
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Those are the options. We anticipate those being the options, yeah.
I just,
I mean,
I'm,
I just don't know how else to do it.
do they have a quote, or is this just kind of a?
So they have one, two, I think they've got 3 proposals for both the field improvement portion and the master plan, capital plan process. And so this is like, this is the best estimate based on the proposals they received. Yeah. For both of them.
just $80,000 buys a hell of a lot of excavator time.
Yeah.
No, it's for, you said it's
But it's
for more than that, isn't it?
for the, yeah. I mean, well, it's basically to tell us how to procure it. And and help us develop a plan of what we want to do and then how to procure it. We don't have the expertise to procure it. We don't.
So we'll procure what, plans?
To develop the necessary documents so that we can procure a project to fix the problem.
Basically a request for,
We don't have anyone to do that. And we can't just say, hey, Mr. Excavator, come over here and just start digging. We just can't, we don't know what to do.
Start digging around, get some stumps, take them out.
We just can't.
It's all is an excavator and a
cost.
sorting box that just, you dump the soil over the top of it, the good stuff runs out the bottom, all the shit falls off to the side, and you're, oh, sorry. Go wrong. All stuff falls off to the side, and, you haul off when you get a 40-footer worth of stumps, you haul those off, and and I know we don't have a lot for our town engineer, but they have a stand.
Oh, yeah. Our oil tank?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. That's what we typically use, but, they received other proposals. Anyway.
I mean, I don't know how many holes they're gonna drill, but half hour in a day. Some of it's obvious at the moment.
Yeah,
And we have $1.9 million. Just saying. We're asking for 80.
2.331.
Combine them all.
7.
You have your current balance plus 342,000.
In CPA money?
Yes. You have 1,090,000 in unreserved, you have,
No. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
you have 353 in housing, 486 in historical, 60 in open, plus 342 coming.
Oh, you're talking about the
Yeah,
one.
2.331.
Okay, yeah, that's one, I mean,
It's kind of one of those things when you have it's one of the things that I'm going through with my team members that I'm working with, that we call task stretching, right? Which is that if you give somebody a task that's going to take 2 hours, but you give them 4 hours to do it, they'll take 4 hours.
so here's
So when you give somebody $2 million and you tell them that you have that available, the next thing you know, you go from
well, they don't know
a
that.
$50,000 project to $2 million.
So here's one of the proposals, resource area delineation, land survey, test pits, field stabilization, prelim design. He's incorporated master plan and design, and there's permitting, construction docs and specs, procurement.
this is the proposal that the Parks and Rec
I think that's the
liked, right?
preferred proposal, I believe, yes.
Because it was kind of soup to nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get all that documentation in order to get the permit to do it, right? Someone's gonna have to create all those, Documents.
I don't know another way to do it.
yeah.
The only thing you'd be concerned about would be stormwater pollution. Aside from that, we have our own building committee, we have our own, right? And I think we're outside of the zone for the MSA, right?
Yeah, that's what.
MS4, sorry. It's late.
And I think we're outside of the zone, but there still are stormwater requirements.
I'm sure there'll be turtles and frogs and all that kind of stuff too. You look hard enough.
I mean, to me, we have a lot of CPA funds and we have like one major recreational
No, I understand.
place to go in town, which is Larder.
My
And
concern, yeah.
I think we should be investing in it.
I don't have an issue with that. I guess my thing is we're gonna, when you look at those numbers and, you know, a community that sort of came up through, farming, sort of working with their hands, that there's gonna be a lot of folks that are there that understand what, you know, that value is to something so simplistic, and I understand from the
Yeah.
perspective that we have to draft it up the right way. I think at the 10, 11, 12, 13 here, one right after the other, 11's not this big of a deal, but
Yeah.
I think we have a good problem, but I think we have a problem with regard to the available funds.
Yeah. Meaning we have a lot of it.
Meaning we have a lot of it and we're asking for overrides.
Yeah.
So, not that we can use it anywhere.
No, I was just gonna say, I'm not gonna say what,
I get it. Yeah.
because everyone knows what the restrictions are for CPA funds, but I understand, I understand what you're saying. But I mean, right now, I think it's stabilized-ish, but there was a time period where we were considering closing the place down because it was not safe. So it is it's a real issue. I mean,
Oh, for sure.
there was someone walking out there that's like this literally just disappeared into the earth. So it's a problem that we really need to address. We could address it like we've been doing every year, scrambling and trying to find money to do the least amount possible so that we can get through another year. Or we can try to fix it once and for all with money that we have available with a recreational resource that the majority of residents use the most in town.
I'm not as convinced as you that it'll be once and for all.
Well,
A few years, we'll figure this out.
Once you dig down and you remove the majority of it, once you set a level grade to what you're gonna go to, and then putting that geotextile bridges a hell of a lot more. Some of those fabrics are impressive as hell of what they can carry. I've seen them carry some stuff that I never thought was physically possible. And it's impressive, but at the same time, I feel like if you're in the industry, it's not a very difficult design to come across. And it's I see a lot of money there, and I just,
Yeah, but if they're kind of being the general, start to finish, is that sort of what it includes?
no, this is to develop the plan to have somebody else bid on it.
yeah, they're not doing the work.
They're practicing the play upstairs. There's no riot going on. Yeah. What is I mean, obviously we have to give them some sort of guidance along the way. Do we have any sort of understanding of what the master plan for Waterfield is, aside from being a field and a baseball diamond?
Yeah, I mean, that's,
I was told there is no master plan for Larder Field. This is to establish something.
Creation of the master plan.
Okay, playing with different fonts there. That's what you get.
That is not me. I am not that talented. Okay, so,
Could include conceptual design of various field improvements, including pavilion spaces.
so there's been a lot of talk over that's one of the things that have been talked since I've been here about, from the rec, or parks has been interested in putting a pavilion on site, because I guess one of the major complaints for users of the field is that it gets very hot, just baking in the summer on the field over the summer. So they've been talking about a pavilion space. I don't know what that will be, what that will look like, and where it would go, but they have been talking about that. So basically trying to develop essentially a mini master plan / capital plan for Lauderfield, so that we know where things like that are gonna go. We know what our priorities are, and we have a plan to actually invest and upgrade the park, the field.
Is there a revenue stream that comes from the rental of the field or no?
There is, but it's not significant, but yeah, there is. Goes into the law.
I think it was one of the first years I was on the board, we built some new dugouts down there. Unfortunately, that COVID happened, nobody used them for about 5 years.
Yeah. And once they finish Cow Pond or something, once they renovated Cow Pond or something, a lot of them, there were teams using it.
The Cow Pond one is pretty nice. All right, I think we probably entertain 12 and 13 together based on the fact that they're basically joined at the hip there to look at the improvements of Lauderfield and creating the master plan. So I'd entertain a motion to support Articles 12 and 13. A second? All those in favor?
$40,000 for a master plan.
80 grand for a permit.
You know what, we have $2 million in CPA, nobody wants to spend it. Loosen the purse strings. I mean, I know we don't have money anywhere else, that's part of the issue, but we do have money in CPA that we could use.
CPA is the only thing we've spent money on in the last 5 years.
Yeah, it's the only way we're able to really do anything.
It's limited what you can do with it.
Right, exactly.
And the way they're getting around the weeds is, this weed issue is, they're going after a different weed every year.
Yeah.
That's what's going, okay.
Nice, right? You know?
Yeah.
You pull out the
Pretty much.
crabgrass and the.
Or a different area of the
Yeah, that's in the
pond
sun for the next week.
that, hasn't, they haven't been able to do, so, yeah, it's, and we're not the only ones funding this, it's also, I think this year, I'm not sure if Groton and Tingsboro are both involved, I think it might be just Groton or just Tingsboro, I don't know.
They said, they said Tingsboro in their application. Yeah.
One of the, sometimes it's both, sometimes it's whoever abuts that area of the lake helps out as well. And then plus the Lake Massapog Association, right, they also kick in some dough,
Should
so.
we toss in a boat ramp and maybe start charging some launching fees or something there? All right, Article 14, which was Woodward's Mill Dam improvements, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds, including CPA funds, a sum of money for repairs of Woodward's Mill Dam, including incidental and related costs based upon recommendations of the Community Preservation Committee, or take any action related thereto.
This is a $25,000 request. We conducted or just completed a phase 2 assessment of the dam. And there's a number of repairs that are gonna be necessary with the dam, but an immediate need is there's a hole in the top of it that, was flagged as like something that should be addressed as soon as possible. Because it's right under the road. And so, so this is just to repair, that hole in, I guess it's called the raceway. But basically at the crown of the road. And then we're gonna have to develop a longer term strategy to design and renovate, the dam more comprehensively, but this is just a short-term, immediate need that we need to address.
Lifetime,
What's that?
oh, yeah, how much time does it buy us? I mean,
It's not buying us time, it's avoiding a real problem. But we're definitely going to need, in addition to that, there's a laundry list of other items that are outlined in the phase 2 assessment report. There was a state grant opportunity that we just applied for that will help us with the design portion of it. I don't know if we'll get it, but we applied for it, so we'll see. But if that happens, if we get that grant, that'd be super helpful to continue to advance it. Otherwise, I'm not sure. I mean, we may need to go back and beg the CPC to fund design or find strategy.
just so I'm clear and everybody knows. Pleasant Street?
Yeah, oh yeah, Pleasant Pond, yep.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? Entertain a motion to support. All in favor? Aye. Article 15, tennis and pickleball courts at Lauder Field, to see if the town will vote. Excuse me. The town will vote to transfer from available funds, including CPA funds, to fund, a sum of money for additional expenses associated with the construction of a new tennis and pickleball courts at Lauder Field, including all incidentals and related costs, based upon the recommendations of the Community Preservation Committee, or taking the actions thereto.
So this project is essentially complete. However, there is, speaking of MS4, there are some stormwater requirements that our town engineer would like to see this project meet, which is in addition to what was originally scoped. So what was originally designed was a 2-foot trench on 2 sides of the court. He wants a 3-foot trench on all 4 sides of the tennis courts. So this is actually, it's a $12,000, it's just shy of $12,000 increase to the overall project. And this may not be necessary. Planning board's meeting next week to make a determination on.
And how come it wasn't included in the original plan? How come it changed? The requirements changed?
My understanding is that the engineer for the contractor who developed the plans believes that his original design was sufficient to meet our requirements, and our engineer disagrees.
So you got a punch list and you're waiting for sign off from our engineer, he said no. Because it was, who approved the plan? Didn't he approve the plan?
He reviewed.
There was,
He reviewed them. They needed a land disturbance permit from the planning board, so there was a review process as part of that. There's been a fair amount of back and forth between the engineer, the planning board, and the contractor and the rec commission on the project.
he wasn't, we're, it's a community project, we're trying to do it as inexpensively as we can. It's a freaking gravel pit. And, they haven't had a teacup full of water, sit over there, ever, even after a heavy rain. And, but he's a stickler, he's, following the rules. Now, the planning board can waive, his request, and I could be mistaken, but I think they probably will.
Right.
And that'll save us 1,200 big ones, 12,000, pardon me, big ones.
So, so depending on the decision of the planning board, we'll either ask town meeting for the $11,000 and change to fund the additional stormwater work, or we'll recommend no action on the article if they waive the requirement.
And the planning board will know prior to town meeting?
That's the plan.
That's the plan.
I said entertain a motion to support. That's all made, second, all those in favor? That seems like you're fighting your own office, right? Cost me $12,500 to
Oh, don't.
fight with your own engineer.
Yep.
Article 16, establishment of the Dunstable Commission on Accessibility. To see if the town will accept the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8, 8J.
Yeah.
Related to the establishment of a municipal commission on disabilities to be called the Dunstable Commission on Accessibility, or take any action thereto. Sponsored by the Select Board and Economic Development Committee.
This was initiated by the town's Economic Development Committee.
The who?
Economic Development Committee. And so, there are many communities that have a commission on disability. It does help with some grant eligibility.
Not required by the state?
Yeah, what's
It's
their,
not required. It's not,
what's their motivation to maybe qualify for more grants?
I think that's part of it. The idea of a disabilities commission is to have a group that's looking out for the disabilities community within the town. So, making sure that ADA laws, regulations, requirements are being met,
States are.
ensure
I'm
compliance.
just gonna say the same thing. We're already doing this. Why are we trying to take it over ourselves?
I don't know.
As the state law requires that all new facilities meet
Yes, oh yeah.
meet the most up-to-date ADA requirements.
Yeah.
And there's an inspector that comes out to make sure that whatever you build meets the most recent ADA requirements. Is there something, I'm just asking for the benefit.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were, I wasn't involved in the discussion around this, so, but I do think, I don't want to speak for the chair, but I think the chair encountered a resident who was going through a renovation project and needed assistance with compliance. They were struggling to get direct guidance. I think he felt that a group like this may be able to help with supporting people like that, and supporting the disability community within town. advocating for accessibility in some of the town assets, like, for instance, Lauderfield, like, I don't know how accessible Lauderfield is. I'm kind of making this up as I go, but if there were improvements at Lauderfield to make it more accessible, if some of our trail networks could be more accessible, this group could help with that. It does help with grant, competitiveness.
Having a commission allows them to be more eligible than.
More competitive, more competitive.
There's the morality of it, which says, yeah, okay, fine, you want to commission on accessibility, I have no problem with that. The only issue is, to me, is that if it creates additional cost or issues with regard to what may come from the findings of this, that we don't have any way to fund anything that comes along with it. So if you don't want a grant, but then you tell me that it can't go to Lauderfield because it's not accessible and you close it down, we're SOL.
Kind of no action or something like that.
Anybody else have a? We can choose to take no action. It really has no.
I don't think there's any monetary.
Today.
Today, yes, this is a keyword. I have never used the ADA and not had a financial.
That's right. Part of my concern.
And then now we'll have a commission that.
To inform me.
Right.
Another commission.
Yeah, I know,
local
it's, yeah,
commission.
it's overkill.
Again, it's just, I don't have an issue with any of it, just kind of where does, just the outline of the benefit to what we're doing. And the concern that there would be additional costs without grant money, that if, from somebody who deals with it on a fairly regular basis, if something doesn't meet ADA requirements, it doesn't open.
Yeah.
Flat out. And if you have somebody else with a level walking around town and dropping it on our sidewalks or streets, access to fields, or the next thing you know is, well, it needs to be. And then if we don't get a funding source, it just is what it is. Take no action or.
Yeah.
If you take no position or no action, no position.
No position, I guess. You're probably correct. Harold. So I entertain a motion to take no
Is that
position.
okay? Al?
Yeah, I think that is, yeah.
I'll make a motion to take no position.
Okay. All those in favor of no position?
Mostly over concerns about potential financial.
Yeah, can we write that whole thing there? The advisory boards take no position because of potential financial impact. Article 17 for the lease purchase agreement, to see if the town will vote pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 21C, to authorize the select board to enter into a lease purchase agreement for the lease and purchase of vehicles and certain capital for a period of time not in excess of the useful life of the property, to procure on such terms and conditions as the select board deem in the best interest of the town, and to authorize the select board to take all necessary actions to administer and implement such agreement and to fund said lease purchase through an annual appropriation or take any action thereto. That sounds like a whole lot of nothing, so we're gonna need a little more explanation on that one.
Are they getting new cars?
I honestly, to see if the town will vote is that the right language for the warrant?
They're all, I think they all. A lot of them. No?
Will vote to appropriate, and it says will vote pursuant to the Mass General Law.
Most of them say that, to see if the town will vote.
To do something.
That should be a comma there. Oh yeah, it's missing a comma, that's why.
The other ones like to vote to see if the town will accept.
Yeah, so there's a comma after vote.
Yeah, to see if the town will vote pursuant to authorize the select board.
Yeah, or maybe just flip the sentence, one or the other, whatever you.
Okay, this is for, a truck replacement for the highway department. For the highway superintendent. This truck has $110,000 on it. It's, I think 7 years old. And it becoming a liability in terms of costing us a decent amount of funds annually to maintain. So, in order to purchase this in a way that we think we can afford, we've proposed this lease purchase agreement, which would be a 3-year lease to purchase, with the first year being, actually, each year being $18,702.48. And that'll be funded through the highway budget.
Yeah, it's already built into the highway budget.
Is that a good number with these, tariffs?
I don't know what's a good number anymore, honestly. The prices on almost everything are just through the roof, so. It's a total of $52,776.
Yeah, they've got a quote that's good for some period of time.
Yeah, through May.
Have they got more than one estimate? Just out of curiosity.
I think this is who we typically use, and it's on the state bid list, so, they have a state contract which we can take advantage of too.
So they're pretty much mandated. I was gonna say, so they are somewhat mandated to. Yeah, I don't know.
56 grand for a pickup truck's not a pretty decent, what do you get? That's $250.
Silverado,
That's great.
It's trade in.
it's included, yeah, that's included in the trade, $12,500. Yes.
It's like 64 or something,
Yeah.
63.
Sorry.
Still not bad these days.
And I guess it's plow ready, it's
Yeah.
ready for the plow.
You say 1,500? 2,500,
For what?
the truck.
$12,500.
No,
The
the model.
It's just a
$2,500.
Silverado. Okay, it is.
I'm assuming four-wheel drive.
Yeah, for,
If it's plowing, it better be four-wheel drive,
yeah.
or else it goes down and gets stuck and it doesn't come back. All right, this one is here, it's already in our budget. I don't know why we need to authorize the select board to do that, but,
It's state law.
okay. I'll vote to support Article, I entertain a motion to support Article 17. So move, we have a second, all those in favor?
The only thing it does is it kills their rental and leases, but, it's pretty much eating up the highway department's rental and lease budget, so if they need to rent a piece of equipment, something, probably won't be able to do it. It's okay,
Yeah.
but it is part of the highway department, it's much.
Can't wait to see what to see if the article, just based on the document you just pulled up there. Article 18, Chapter 90 funds, to see if the town will vote to appropriate any sums of money received by the town under provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 90, for this, for the purpose, authorized by chapter 98, we're taking the actions there too. I'd imagine we'll take whatever funds the state will give us, as large or small as they may be. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion or any necessary for that one? So I'd entertain a motion to support Article 18. So, move a second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Article, yeah. Article 19, veterans tax exemption, annual cost of living increase. To see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 17th F, really? That's a new one. 17th. All right, which will allow the town to provide for an increase in property tax exemption for veterans equal to the cost of living as determined by the most recent consumer price index for such year as determined by the Massachusetts Department of Revenue or take any action thereto. So we don't take in enough tax money and we want to provide a discount to any taxes that would be assessed to veterans. Yes?
So we already provide, there's already a provision for a veteran's tax exemption that the town.
How much?
It varies. It's like, I think it ranges from like $450 to $1,250, depending on your circumstances.
But this one says,
That's okay, this is where we are right now.
Yeah.
Yes,
Whatever.
yeah. And so this is a recent law that was passed that allows community to opt to provide a cost of living adjustment increase on top of that. So that the Board of Assessors voted to do that.
So, you want me to allow an exemption that's based on consumer price index, but I can't raise taxes more than 2.5%.
Yes,
this is the state we live in.
yes.
That was
Remember that the
very well said.
yes. Remember, the town can only offer exemptions that are strictly allowed for by the state. So we can't make, we can't make up exemptions on our whim. It's got to be authorized by the state.
Some,
That's yeah, I mean, it's completely out of our control, no?
we don't, it sounds like we don't have to adopt this CPI adjustment. Is
We
it?
don't, no, we're not required to. It's a
Right.
local option.
Right.
But the Board of Assessors is recommending and sponsored the article to do so.
Did they propose any way to make up the tax revenue?
It's a small,
I just-
Well, the-
they're estimating the impact is $587.
And veterans
For
already
annual.
get, they already get
Yes,
a
they're already
exemption.
eligible for a tax exemption, yes.
What is the current exemption based upon?
Because it varies between like $500 and $1,200 or something. Yeah,
Okay, so it's 400, I'm sorry. So 400 to 1,500, and there's, like I said, it's based on the veteran's individual circumstances.
The current one is,
right, you get 400 or 300.
So, if just saying you're
And
at,
this is pulled right from the states.
if you're at right now, so if you're at a $400 exemption right now, this is the $400 exemption plus the cost of living assessment on top of that. So if it varies anywhere from, depending on CPI, which we sort of have no sort of control over, it could be anywhere from 3 to
2%,
Yeah, they
11%.
estimated,
7%.
based on the last 2 years, they based the numbers they gave me on 5%.
What's the high end there? 1,500?
5% of 400?
Say it again.
So it's 5%
Yeah.
more than 400?
Yeah, whatever the CPI, it's going.
So
up
if-
that amount.
If the 4% was there, if you had somebody who's currently receiving 400
Mhm.
exemption, and then the CPI was 5%, you would get an additional $20.
420. And the year
They,
after.
they said for 25,
What's that?
Don't spend it all in one place.
That's what, I'm kind of wondering if we're talking about pennies here, or are we talking about like
You
actual?
said 580.
so in FY 20,
Total.
in FY 25, they said they granted $11,750 in veterans exemptions. If we had 5% cost of living adjustment for 26, that would be an additional $587.50.
And the next year it'll be $560 or whatever.
Is that $500 exemption, is that spread out all over the rest of the tax base?
The exemptions. That's a good question. The exemptions spread over. No.
Somebody has to pay for it, right?
What was the question there, please?
No, they paid,
If we're exempted $500 in taxes,
no, we paid for it out of the overlay.
okay,
Oh, this year, yeah.
You would pay for it out of
they'll
the
be paid
overlay
for
every
somewhere.
year?
Yeah, just as we do now.
No, I know, I'm just trying to.
Yeah.
So it's not, it's not technically out of every, but it comes out of a fund.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair.
it's coming out.
It's coming out of it some one way or another, but yeah. Is it $11,000 worth of, I mean, it seems like it'd be difficult to get up to $11,000 worth of exemption right now. Unless there's a full exemption.
Must be a lot of business.
Oh,
For your 500.
Well, it's only $1,000, it won't be 11.
So we get 25 or so, 20.
well, either that or there's might be the surviving, which was full exemption, right? Okay.
Oh, yeah, right.
Because the rest of it, if you're at $1,500, it does take quite a bit to get up there, right?
Well, yeah, if you got it, let's say it's $1,500. So yeah,
I guess
it's only
it's
like 8 to
500, yeah.
Anyway,
I just entertain a motion to support. Yeah,
I mean,
$500.
I think it's fine.
Okay, so we have a motion made, do we have a second or no?
Second.
All right, all those in favor? We'll just. So Article 20, the municipal charges lien, to see if the town will vote to adopt the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 558, 5B. It's getting later.
Second.
58. The H's and B's are gonna be in trouble. Which authorizes the town to place a lien on real property located within the town for unpaid municipal charges and fees, and to authorize the town to place such municipal charges lien on real property for the following unpaid charges and payments required for as a condition of any special permit, variance, license, site assessment, site plan review, or other land use approval that is issued by any board, commission, committee, or other or officer of the town, including but not limited to unpaid peer review charges or take any action there too. Where is this happening here? Do we have somebody who didn't pay their taxes or not pay for a peer review charge?
People don't pay their taxes.
So this
I know we
is,
have quite a few who don't pay their taxes.
this is meant to assist us with collecting certain fees and charges, namely, as it states in the article, unpaid peer review charges. We've had issues.
Yeah.
With the planning board, with collecting, some of these charges related to peer reviews and other fees. And without a mechanism to collect, the only other way to do it is to take someone to court. And for us to take someone to court to collect $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, it's gonna cost us more to file and to pay our legal fees.
So this way you just put a lien on the property.
This
so they
way,
can't sell
we
it.
can actually collect the cost we've incurred through a property tax lien.
So this is peer reviews of amendments done to properties in town?
Well, this is for any peer review that the planning board requires for any submittal. So for a sub,
These are just costs.
So you're sending it out to an outside engineer, the engineer's charging us, and then the developer is not paying those charges?
that has happened, I think, twice since I've been here. And so, not that they're not, we've ultimately found ways, but it's been very labor intensive and difficult.
This would just make it easier, just
But
flip a switch.
they know if you have some tool
Correct.
to do that, they'll just pay it. You won't have to do that probably.
Otherwise, it really is difficult.
Entertain a motion to support, made, we have a second. All those in favor? Aye.
I hope you're not gonna read this next.
Nope, you got that one right, Harold. We'll be here all night, you want me to read these next 10 pages?
I won't do that.
We don't have quorum and everything is, all right, so, Article 21, amendment to amend, amendment to an amendment, I love that. Amendment to amend, section 15.2 of the floodplain district, of the town's zoning bylaw. To see if the town, will vote to delete section 15.2, floodplain district of the town's zoning bylaw in its entirety and replace it with the language as follows. Is there a highlight of what's changing? I imagine someone's gonna ask
You're not
that.
gonna read it?
Nope.
This
Well,
is,
there's,
this is fully required by FEMA.
Yep.
This is the only reason this is happening is because FEMA is requiring us to comply with their new regs and to align with their new flood maps. And if we want to participate in their national flood insurance program, or we want residents to be able to, this is what we have to do, essentially.
so what is the changes to the language?
I mean, it's substantial. I mean, I can send you the red line version, or you want me to pull up the red line version?
It just if there's a,
Give me 1 second.
and then do we know what the new flood map looks like for anyone that may
There aren't any,
near a creek or,
No, I'm on hill.
I'm not. I'm between two marshes. So.
No insurance for you?
Actually, you can't flood that property to save your life, it's all sand. I've dumped my entire pool on there and there hasn't been 1 inch of standing water.
Really? Oh, that's funny.
It just
A lot
gone.
of the town is sand, so just.
It's unbelievable. I can't, that's why my lawn's not green.
Yeah.
I can't do it. There's nothing,
Oh, you get,
it's gone.
don't put your own dirt on.
so it's adopting the new maps. It designates a floodplain administrator, which is the building inspector in this case. It outlines permit required for construction within the floodplain, floodplain overlay district.
Do we have,
This was done by NEMCOG.
Yeah,
do we have a
but
map?
it's largely based on a model that was provided to us by the state. That's weird. I have
Has, other towns already adopted this same thing, or somebody reviewed it?
the state has reviewed this and said that it meets the requirements, and yes, there are communities across the Commonwealth that are doing the same, very same thing. The changes to our flood map, based on, I didn't do the review of the map, but based on a preliminary review that was done by the town, it did not appear that any residential properties were affected based on the new maps, based on the changes. Let me see if I can pull this up like I
That guy just jumped.
think this is the best one. Oh, yeah, that's.
Yeah, I guess you're right. The basic question is, did it change any map?
It does, it changes the map, but again, I don't think it doesn't affect any residential.
I guess this would be more, do we need an overlay to show people because I know if it were my property and all of a sudden I wasn't in the flood zone and now I'm in a flood zone, or even a piece of that property, I would say,
It's
oh,
close.
I don't wanna do this.
Yeah, it's close.
Somebody's presenting this at town meeting, right?
Somebody is.
Okay.
Chairman of the planning board, isn't it?
I'm not sure it's gonna be me, but somebody is, yeah. Let's see.
Oh, God.
Sorry.
I was just more for, like I said, when it comes to, when it comes to town meeting, if we had a map or just a picture that here's the existing, here's the new, no big.
Jake,
Yeah.
come on, now, use your head. You know, these areas just get bigger.
I know, and that's what makes me worry.
They just get bigger and, you know,
So
that's
we
all
so
there
we
is
can
to
all
it.
pay insurance companies more money, damn it.
They just get
Okay.
bigger.
I'm just saying that may be something
Yeah.
that's not the end of the world.
No,
All right.
That's a good idea.
It's,
We kinda have to do it though.
Yep, that's true too.
that sure makes it look like the entire town's in the flood. Nothing changed because we're all in it. We've been in it the whole time. Oh, man, that looks awful.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard, you know what I mean? It's hard to make sense of it.
Who wrote, you said,
So what's the hashed
This
area?
is the FEMA.
This comes under the heading of you have to pass it to find out what's in it.
You sure it doesn't, it looks like, it's damn close to my house.
Well, no, it may be, but it's not a change.
What if is the hashed original and the solid is the new?
This is this?
Where's the hash, the actual bodies of water?
No, the pending panel is going into effect, so this is the new map, but it's not looking at the same place, which is the weird part.
Yeah, somehow it's not quite the exact
Because
same.
we're in Kingsborough here.
Every time you move it, you're moving both maps at the same time.
It's like they don't overlay just right.
It can't be that the
Those are
screen's
just
not big enough.
adjacent- Those are just adjacent maps.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, so, yeah, this isn't, I don't love the way they did those, but they are trying to show like, okay, that's what
Oh,
it
if
is,
you read
that's
it,
what it is.
Yeah.
Now, if you wanna see how it changed, move, you know what I'm saying? Am I making sense?
it is making sense, it's just, I see
It's
how,
not easy to,
I think it might be in my pool now.
uh, but you see how you're not seeing a ton of change?
Trying to remember what, is there something to do with, grandfathered, stuff that's,
It was like 80 years.
stuff that's existing, even though, maybe an area may have been expanded to include the floodplain, but if you've got your swimming pool or, whatever.
So how does that apply to the ADU? Because I was kind of looking at, wanting to put a pool house in the backyard. And I would say that would be a problem with these new floodplain lines.
But whether we adopt this bylaw or not, it's not going to change the FEMA maps. The FEMA maps are gonna stay the same. So if you're impacted with or without this bylaw, you're gonna be impacted. What this bylaw does is allow you to access FEMA-sponsored flood insurance if you so choose.
But if I get my ADU in before July 8th,
This is.
All right, I would entertain a motion to support the adoption of the revised section here. A second, all right, all in favor? I don't think there's anything else, any other articles for us to discuss this evening. We've already supported the override. I don't think we need to talk about that anymore. All right, as Jason was alluding to earlier, as we were going through the budgetary discussions, I had drafted a statement more for myself personally, but it does reference my time here on the advisory board and my current position. I can read it to you, send it, whatever you want to do. It might not be, I guess it could go either way, right? The people that are watching a video recording here or anything else, but this is more of an open statement. From my personal position, I've gotten to, I'll be honest with everyone here, I've kind of gotten to the point where we're continuing to ask the same thing over and over again. I feel like I'm running into a brick wall. I'm sure other people feel very similarly. If we don't get this current override, I think we're kind of in a spot where we're heading down a road where the town really isn't, supportive of what the people that are educated on the topic really understand where we're going and what we're doing. And I think when we look at our board here, in my mind, we have an amazing cross section of our community. As I've stated previously, that we've got people actively working, we have retirees, we have people with children in the school district and people without. We have a subsection I think is important to our group, and when we all look at it and we all make the decision as sort of the educated, I don't want to say, adults in the room, that, when we say that this is probably the best path forward for our town, and our select board agrees with us, our town administrator agrees with us, we find ourselves stuck in a position that is less than favorable. And I don't know, I'm feeling like we've pulled out all the stops. We've done everything we possibly can. We're now talking to a random camera in front of us here, whether or not people are listening or not. So if, with your permission, I'd like to read the following statement at town meeting. And, I don't know whether I'll be at the, or requested, depends what Rafi thinks, whether I need to go to the open microphone or can retain sitting at the table if we're afforded to be able. So I'll run through it here quickly. It's only a page. It shouldn't take more than a minute here to run through it. So, and with the permission of the board, I'd leave the part in with discussing my role here within this year. So I just said, good evening and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. My name is Jake Luan and I proudly serve as the chairman of the advisory board. I've been on the board since 2019, and each year alongside with the town administrator and select board, we diligently work to develop a responsible budget that reflects the needs and values of our community. For at least the past 2 years, we have proposed a Proposition 2.5 override, not to expand government, but simply to sustain a functional and effective town government. This includes a properly staffed town hall, police and fire departments, highway department, and a school system that delivers quality education, the quality education our children deserve. Unfortunately, these override requests have not passed. As a result, we have not been able to provide these basic services for the most communities, services that most communities take for granted. Our police department is not fully staffed, leaving just one officer on duty during overnight shifts. Our fire department operates below ideal staffing levels and relies heavily on grants to meet basic safety standards, including equipment and vehicles. And last year, due to failed overrides, we faced the loss of 24 full-time educators. While staffing decisions ultimately rest with the school district, I can say with confidence that our entire regional team is united in a goal to provide the best education possible for our children. The failure of last year's override wasn't just a budget issue, it was the loss of valued team members and momentum. Before those cuts, one of our elementary schools, the very building we are in tonight, assuming we're gonna be there tomorrow on that night, ranked 3rd in the entire state. That kind of excellence is possible when we invest in our schools. Without investment, the excellence fades. Tonight, the town administrator, select board, and advisory board are once again asking you for your support of Proposition 2.5 override. This request is not about expanding services, it's about preserving what we still have. Without it, we face cuts, including the loss of another 14 school staff members and additional reductions to town programs and potentially facilities. Throughout this meeting, you'll hear details about what will happen if we fail to pass the level service override budget, both tonight and at the ballot box. Let me be clear, the budget does not restore anything that we have lost. It does not fill the vacancies in our police, fire, or highway departments. It does not bring back the staff that we've had to cut. It simply holds the line of where we are today. It preserves what we have left. We understand that there may be a perception that your elected officials are asking for too much, or we'll find another way. I assure you, we won't. We are not, and we will not. I assure you, we are not and won't. This is not a wish list. This is a lifeline. And if this override passes, our work doesn't stop there. We've already begun taking steps to address the larger funding challenges. We've brought our concerns to both state and local officials. We've sent letters, held meetings, and even offered to take time off of work to travel to Beacon Hill and advocate in person for more equitable funding. Our local partnership with Groton and the school district has never been stronger. Together, we've reopened the regional agreement to explore improvements to the assessment process. We've brought in independent auditors to conduct operational audits, ensuring we are doing everything we can to use our resources effectively and wisely. We are fully committed to building the kind of town we all want and deserve, a safe, well-educated, and vibrant community. We have scrutinized every dollar to arrive at this level service override. We want to present it to you with humility and transparency. This proposal reflects the hard work of a diverse group of your neighbors, working professionals, retirees, longtime residents, and new members to the community who are all in agreement. This step is necessary to keep our town moving forward. Please trust in the work that has been done here. Please vote yes tonight and at the ballot box for this level of service budget. Thank you.
I thought that was great.
So if I'm afforded the opportunity and you guys are okay with that proceeding forward,
Oh, please do.
yes, sir.
You were talking, you said the fire below ideal or something like that.
Yeah, but below ideal staffing level.
Yeah. I don't know if I was, but I haven't thought of anything much better. Police is below ideal. I was kind of thinking a
Yeah.
different word.
Yeah.
Because what's the right? We're not gonna make ideal. We want some minimum level.
Yeah.
But I haven't really come up with anything.
Yeah.
It's very good though, Jay.
Okay.
It's good. So I was trying to think of maybe a little different word there than ideal.
Yeah, that was great. It was well written,
Yes.
succinct.
Oh, yeah,
You got to all the major points.
Took some time there.
Yeah.
I thought that too.
Yeah, it was really good.
Appreciate it. I just wanted to make sure I ran it past you guys before I said anything, because the fact that, it does reference what we do here, and, if I misrepresented anything, I have the opportunity to make any edits.
That's good.
Okay.
And also a lot of things that are important to say. I mean, that's the type of thing that I think can sway people much more than any facts and figures.
So, with that, I have no issue with making the copies myself. Give it as a potential takeaway from when they show up. I was talking to Jason earlier about adding the letters that we have sent to our state and local representatives, talking about our funding issues and constraints that we have had to this point, just to kind of show the proof, the evidence. I've been pushing, and Jason can tell you, any sort of audit that we have, if we have even the most basic draft audit of something,
Yeah.
please let me have it so we can put it in here. We're doing the work. Please, you're only seeing 5 minutes of it here in our town meeting, and it's a struggle. It's a challenge to sort of not see this stuff continue to pass, and to think about what I know from like I said, my own personal expertise. It must be 22 and 44, 24 and 14, by the way. 22 staff have been cut, and 14 are on the chopping block if we don't do this, right?
I think it's 24.
Was it 24 and 14?
Previous.
Anyway, but I've seen what the reduction has done, and is not good. And to think if they lose 14 more, I mean, I don't even want to. It's a huge struggle for me to. And then I don't think Groton has any intention to. Just the other part too is you start mentioning all these things, and I could stand up there for 20 minutes, right? We could talk
Yeah,
about this all day long. And I don't want to do that, but this is just we can't sustain another loss like that. We're not going to have what we need. And then if Groton chose to if Dunstable's not going to pay for it, we're not going to either. And if their board, instead of recommending a super town meeting, just cut the funding from it, I don't think they would do that. I think they would recommend a super. If they recommended a super town meeting, we're at $280,000 a loss. That's the library's $230. We still have to cut another 40. It's just.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think their selectmen already stated, didn't they, Harold, that there'd be no free ride this time. They'd be going to a super town meeting.
And
Oh, yeah, Groton.
I think that was at one of their meetings. What I did want to ask, what kind of response did you get from your letter writing campaign to the state? Did anybody,
So I didn't get any formal response. I've talked to our local delegation. They're they're locked in on it, so I talked to them many times, both Rep. Scarsdale and Senator Kennedy. So, you know, they're doing what they can at the State House, but the letter was addressed to the chairs of the Ways and Means Committee. I didn't get a response from either one of them, either from the House or the Senate. But I do know that it's rising on the scale of importance at the State House. It's getting attention, it's being talked about. I think more and more. And so I'm more optimistic than I was that there might be a possibility to get some change, or at least get some bridge funding before they can make a change. But
Unfortunately, it's probably gonna take more communities like you've seen with teachers on strike, towns going to, I would honestly say that, if we were unfortunate enough to not pass this, that I would recommend to the school board to publicize it, right? I know that's terrible to think that you're, gaining off of somebody else's demise with their position, but you've got to utilize that to try to gain public influence. And if they're talking about, Dunstable and Groton and Tingsboro and, Bill Ricca or whatever it is, and they're cutting schools and their teachers are on strike, and you don't have this, that at least maybe it puts additional pressure on folks to do something before our school systems plummet.
I just got an email a couple days ago from the chair of the, whatever it's called, small town administrators and managers or something. There's a group of us that are on a listserv, and I just got an email from the chair that is surveying all of us on who's going for an override, because there's so many of us that need an override for the most part, for the same exact reason. I mean, everybody is dealing with this issue. We are not alone. So.
I mean, you have the largest union in the state of Massachusetts that has negotiated terms that provides an increase that goes above and beyond what our propositions allow us to tax into.
I mean, it's up 80% of their budget or something.
Yeah, that's 80% of the budget was up at 7%.
I mean, there are cities right now. I mean, the community I live in would never talk about an override. We're talking about an override because we're an innovative community too. And I mean, it's like third rail stuff in where I am, but there's no other way.
Right.
There's no other way to deal with it.
All right.
Move to adjourn.
Yeah. I've entertained a motion to adjourn. We have first, second, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
When the town report's gonna be in?
Lauren?
Can you send that one?
Is that